Hello! Welcome back to this room. Welcome back if you've never been to my channel before. Hi, I'm Lauren, Lo, whatever you want to call me. But feel free to subscribe if you're new. Come join. I upload like 1 to 3 times a week depending on the week. It's tons of fun here. But today I am talking about a application. Why was that so hard to say? Today I'm talking about application as an alumni to a Disney program. If you don't know, I have done 2 programs now. I did attractions on my first program and I just finished up my second program as a character attendant for 2019, and applications are now open for the cultural exchange program for summer 2020, and then also spring applications are still open, I believe, as the time that you're seeing this. This is my personal opinion, obviously. But these are my kind of tips for applying as an alumni if you already have Disney experience to reapply, obviously. I'm just gonna be talking about your resume and your cover letter. If you want more information on a phone interview, I actually uploaded my phone interview for my program last year, so I'll link that up in the cards there. It's my entire phone interview from start to finish, how I got accepted as a character attendant. You can watch that. This is just gonna be a resume and a cover letter. I'm just gonna hop right into it. First, I'm gonna talk about your resume. Obviously, you have to add Disney to your resume, and Disney has its pros and its cons. It looks really good on a resume whether you're reapplying to Disney or you're applying to another job. My current job, I absolutely got hired because I had my 2018 program on it, and then I went back and asked for more money with my 2019 program and I got it. So Disney looks great on a resume regardless, but adding it to your resume can sometimes be really hard because it takes up so much space and you don't want to have like a 27-page resume. Regardless of your role, you've probably done multiple things. For me, I was in attractions, but I did park greeter and parking and pack, which is parade and audience control. So I did 3 things. If you're merchandise, you may have done stock and your location. You also may be, approved to work in food. If you do quick service, you might be trained in counter and bussing and cashier. Things like that. You might do everything. If you were a character attendant, you may have gotten trained in launch bay or parade or enchanted tales, things like that. So it's all about kind of squeezing it all down to make your resume not super long. My Disney part of my resume honestly probably takes up about half of my first page of my resume. My resume is 2 pages long. So I try to do as much squeezing as possible, but it's really hard. But keep it as concise as you can. If they have questions, they'll ask you questions. You'll see in my phone interview, she didn't know what I did really and she wanted me to elaborate, so she asked me about it. Your resume for the most part is just kind of get you through the door. A lot of people say that it's like all computer generated, like keyword kind of things, and no actual human being looks at your resume until your interview. I don't know if that's true or not, but for me, my resume is essentially putting as many keywords as possible in a teeny tiny little area squeezed together so I can get through that interview and prove to them that I'm like a decent human being. When you're adding it to your resume, I like putting this on my resume instead of my cover letter, because my cover letter you only really have a page to do, so I feel like I'm squeezing so much information in between like my Disney experience and my other experience, my volunteer, and for us like making it culturally make sense, and your education. You're doing a lot in your cover letter, so I like to include this in my resume, but I included things like cast compliments, 4 key cards, recognition from my leader. If you want any like award things like we did, like it's right here because I keep it on my desk, but we did like the golden cone my first year, so like things like this are really cute to mention underneath your role from your last program. You don't need to write them out in full, but you could say like, I did receive a cast compliment, I did receive a bunch of grape sodas because I was a great like teamwork person, team worker, team player, that's what I mean. Things like that I would include in there. I would also focus on the 4 keys. So if you got a 4 keys card or if you got a cast compliment, I would wrap it into how you used it with the 4 keys. Or if you work something like parking or you were trained back of house and quick service, mention that you were in a safety critical role. Things like that look really good, and that's a reason why a lot of people go from jobs that aren't good jobs, like Custodia a lot of the time, get moved into entertainment because they have really good guest feedback, they have really good guest interaction, they work safety critical roles, they deal with things independently, things like that that'll set you up for the role that you want, include in your resume. I remove all not relevant information if I know I want something specific. My last program, I went in knowing that I wanted character attendant. I would probably have taken attractions or merchandise, but I was like, I want character attendant. That is what my goal was focused on. So I knew that I had no interest in food whatsoever. I had pretty much no interest in quick service my first program too, just because I'm a vegetarian, so the thought of working with meat all day really grosses me out. but I do have food service experience. I worked back of house and I also worked front of house at a restaurant, and I took that all off my resume because it was old experience and it had nothing to do with the job that I wanted, and it was just taking up space on my resume. Well, that could have been like, you know, a quarter of my resume taken up by that. I took that out, put Disney in there instead, and it looked like I had no food experience, so why would they give me a food service role? Obviously included if that's your only like experience, but for me, I also had hospitality, retail management, a lot of other things going into my second program already, so it didn't make sense for me to also have food on there when I had no interest in food. Also, now that you're more comfortable with Disney language, things like that, feel free to update your resume with Disney language. Change things from employee to cast member, change customer to guest. Things like that, saying guest experience, saying that you kept up the show when doing things like merchandising. Really easy to like slide those little things in there that if it is based on some sort of like word scanner, look really good. Look at the roles that you want and look at the application. You can kind of morph your past experience on your resume to that. So for me, when it came to putting typhoon on my resume, I was working as a greeter. I looked at the application, I actually might have it. It doesn't have the roles posted here, but you can go online, you can find all of the, like the list of the roles, and it'll like essentially lay out what they all are for you. For me, I knew attractions as a role said something along the lines of working in a guest-facing positions, blah blah blah. So when I put my attractions experience on my resume, I essentially mirrored the application. So I said, oh, I worked as a park greeter at Disney's Typhoon Lagoon Water Park in a guest-facing position, using their wording like I was familiar with Fast Pass Plus, I was familiar with Park Hopper Plus, Disney ticketing, Disney transportation, the minivan services, things like that. I directly mirrored onto my resume from my experience, because as good as I can explain my experience, Disney knows the role really well. Hope that makes sense. I've already been rambling for 8 minutes, but I hope that makes sense. Now onto my cover letter. Obviously, again, you're gonna add Disney. I made my cover letter a little bit more personal my second time around just because I had experience with Disney and I had like good stories with Disney. So in my first cover letter, I focused mainly on how I had a good experience as a guest, and I think that my, at that point, non-Disney experience would make me a really good cast member because I've always had good service. And I worked in an industry that mirrored that. I worked at Sephora mostly before my first program. And Sephora used a lot of the same lingo with cast member. They use client instead of guest, but on stage, backstage, they had the values, which are very similar to the 4 keys. So I kind of did things like that, where this time I was able to directly mirror that because I had experience with Disney. Obviously, I added my Disney. Like I said, if you want to flex, if you've got anything really, really cool, you can flex right now when you're talking about your Disney experience on your cover letter, but I like to keep it as short as possible because my cover letter I want to talk about a little bit of everything, where I feel like you have more room on your resume to go all out. You can add personal stories, personal experience. I said this last time too, as much as you're telling Disney that you want to work there, Disney already knows that you want to work there, because if you didn't want to work there, you wouldn't be applying in general. So I focus more on why you'd be a good employee. So if you're bringing up a personal story and you've already worked there, I wouldn't bring up a personal story saying, I love my program because I loved meeting people. You could say, I love my program because it gave me an opportunity to meet guests around the world and assist them, and I think I was an asset because ABC, whatever. You know? Are you picking up what I'm putting down right now? Do you know what I'm talking about? You can add personal stories, you can say things like that, but focusing on why you were already a really good cast member compared to why you want just to do it again because it was fun or you enjoyed yourself sounds better, because then you sound like you're helping them, they're just not helping you, you know? You can also talk about how you felt like you already grew and how you want to continue to grow. I talked about this in my interview too. Again, I really recommend watching my phone interview, especially if you have an interest in entertainment. But I talked about how I like the guest service and I like having a guest-facing position and talking one-on-one with guests, but I was limited in my role because I only did that when I was a greeter. I didn't get to do that in parking. So I would love to continue to grow in my guest service experience that I've already gained with Disney to make it even better, to elevate my experience. That's saying that I'm already an asset to the company because I've already been taught the Disney values that I could bring to you, but it also helps me out. At this point, you can also wrap everything into Disney because you're comfortable with the company. So if you're bringing up your degree, instead of just saying, I'm getting a degree in communications, you could say, I'm getting a degree in communications, which I know is an asset to being a Disney employee because I'm comfortable with public speaking, which could be helpful when talking to a crowd, speaking to your line as an attendant, memorizing spiels and saying spiels if you're in attractions, things like that. Now that you know how Disney works, it's really, really, really easy to like twist your experience to sound good for Disney. I think that's it. I didn't really talk about roles specifically in my cover letter this time. I knew I wanted attendant, and I think I morphed myself to kind of be set up for attendant. I talked a lot about how I had good time management skill. I'm out of breath just from talking. How I liked working with people, how I was good at working with a team, but I was also comfortable working independently, because attendant is a little bit more of an independent role a lot of the time. Sometimes you'll be the only attendant and your performer can't talk, so you're kind of just doing it yourself. I think that's like pretty much it. I think that's pretty much it. I can't think of anything else specifically that I did. I don't even have, I probably should have pulled up my cover letter from last year, my resume. I didn't. The main thing I find is now that you're comfortable with things like Disney lingo and Disney values, the 4 keys, stuff like that, it's really, really easy to make yourself sound good because you already know what you're coming into. So I did talk about the 4 keys in my first interview, which I think really helped me get into my first program on my first shot. If you don't know, I applied, I got it my first time, it just happened. I got my dream role, I applied again, I got it again, I got the role I wanted. I got really lucky somehow, I don't really know how. Now that you're comfortable with Disney and you know Disney, it's really easy to make yourself sound good to Disney, and you'll notice that even if you look back at like someone who's never applied for his cover letter versus you rewriting it now, you can tell. Like, I've been proofreading people's first time cover letters and I can tell. Okay, something in my eye. I'm gonna be right back. 2 seconds. Well, I'll be right back. I still have something in my eye, and now my eye's just really red and all my makeup's rubbed off. So, we're doing pretty good. I think that's my sign that I should wrap this up. That's basically it. Those are my few little tips on my cover letter, my resume, things like that. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Hit me up here if you have a comment. I can answer comments here. If you want me to take a look at your if you want me to take a look at your cover letter or resume, and like I know you personally and you're just randomly watching this, you can message me too. Or if you have any questions, you can always message me on Instagram as well. I'm always there. I'm Otis Disney. I'm really easy to find. Also, if you're an alumni and you have any other tips, feel free to leave them down below. It's always helpful to hear other people's opinions as well. That is it. That is all. Please subscribe. I need more friends and I'm lonely. All my links to everything else are down below, and I'll see you guys in a couple of days. Bye.